Aquascaping your new aquarium can both be exciting and overwhelming, but with the proper planning and using the right kind of rock, it can be a great experience. For all of our saltwater aquariums here at Waterbox, we use Carob Sea Life Rock. The Life Rock is a great choice because it comes in a beautiful purple coloration, and it also is seeded with dormant bacteria, which helps keep your cycling process even shorter. For a lot of our Waterbox models, we offer Life Rock bundles. These are great because they're already combined group of Carob Sea Life Rock to fit that model, gives you plenty of choices and shapes and sizes to create a unique aquascape. Carob Sea offers a large variety of Life Rock shapes which are easy to work with and create a beautiful aquascape. With a large variety of arches, base pieces, shelves, caves, and nano kit, the aquascaping possibilities are endless. First step is you want to lay out all of your rock into one area. This is going to let you easily see the pieces you have to work with. You're going to want to measure the inside of your aquarium. This is going to let you lay out your aquascaping in the correct size. You want to leave enough room away from the glass so that you can clean it properly, and then also open sand bed space. You want to take those measurements and now mock it up outside the aquarium. It's easier to aquascape outside of your aquarium, and it also doesn't risk the damages and scratches that can happen if you're moving rock around inside of it. Pro tip, using the box or the crate that your aquarium comes in is a great way to lay out your area. If you don't have this, you can easily use a table or the floor, laying out a towel or even tape to mark off the amount of area that you have to work with. The first layer of rock you're going to use is going to be your larger base pieces. You want to use these to have a solid foundation to build upon, and then also it's going to give you some room for more height. As you start to build up from your base pieces, keep in mind having open swim spaces for your fish using those arches. You also don't want to put a ton of rock on the bottom touching the sand, as this is going to kind of bulk up your sandbed area with rock, and it's going to allow a lot of detritus to build up and not as much flow to get around the rock itself. Now, it doesn't matter if this is your first aquascape or your 100th, you're going to change it so many times, and that's okay. Take your time and make those changes until you're happy with the final product. Now, when you're designing your aquascape, you do want to keep in mind the type of corals you plan to keep. That's going to determine a lot of how you want to design it. So say you have a lot of soft corals or maybe encrusting corals. You're going to want your rockscape to be taller because they're not going to have any height to them. Now, if you're going to go with larger flowy corals, you can go with a lower rock structure, but you want to make sure that you have a lot of open space because you're going to need a good amount of flow. Now, if you're going for like full SBS, you need a very open rock work. They need a ton of flow, especially as they grow, and their colonies are going to be large and branching, so you don't want to have a lot of piled up rock. No matter what type of coral you plan to keep, avoid doing the rock wall structure. This is when you pile up a lot of rock more vertically and leaning against the back of the aquarium. There's a few problems with this. One is you're not going to have a lot of flow getting through the rock, which is going to lead to a lot of buildup. Two is your coral, whenever you place them on the top, it's going to overshadow everything underneath. Should you use glue or epoxy? This really comes down to personal preference. I almost never use either of those when doing my aquascaping, unless you need to achieve a really abstract look. So the problem comes down to if you are using glue or epoxy, at some point a coral's gonna fall, a snail might be dead behind a rock, you need to get a fish out, and you're not gonna have as easy access if your rock is glued together. By having it not glued, you can kind of move a few pieces here and there as needed to be able to reach under the rock or all the way in the back of an aquarium. When you finally have your aquascape the way you want it, take a lot of photos from all different angles as you're gonna use these when you're placing the rock into the aquarium. All right, now that you've spent all this time building your aquascape and getting it perfect, it's time to take it apart. But don't worry, take a lot of photos on each level. You're gonna take off the top level, take a few photos, take off the next, keep taking photos of each step so that when you go to move it into the aquarium, you can follow those photos and rebuild it almost exactly the way you had it. What sand do you choose? There's a lot of options. Our favorite is Carob Sea Live Sand. We're using the Fiji Pink. This is our favorite for grain size, but also with it being live sand, it helps add additional bacteria, which is gonna help your cycling process, and you don't have to rinse it. Do you add sand first or do you add rock first? This is a huge debate and everyone's gonna tell you something different. I personally add the sand first. I think this is the best way. We don't use a deep sand bed, so it's not a concern for the rock shifting, but you can definitely do it your own personal way. This is just my preference. How much sand are you gonna need? This is really gonna depend on how deep of a sand bed that you want. Everyone does a little bit different, all the way from bare bottom to a deep sand bed of a couple inches. We use 1-inch sand beds. I feel this is the best for rock stability, but it's also enough sand for your sand sifting fish and inverts to be happy, but not so deep that you can run into long-term problems like a deep sand bed. Now it's time to put the rock into the aquarium. It may not go in exactly how you had it, even with taking the photos and following along the process, but don't worry, feel free to improvise a little bit and change it up. With the Aquariums Life Rock bundles, you're gonna have a little bit of rock left over. This is intentional because we want to make sure you have plenty of rock to build your desired aquascape. Save it for your next aquarium, or you can even sell it. For more information on Waterbox and Life Rock bundles, visit waterboxaquariums.com.